One company made $5.5 billion in profit last year, not revenue, profit. Pure, clean, beautiful profit. And they did it without making anything, without selling you anything, without even risking their own money. They basically just sat there like a very expensive cat. That company is BlackRock. And look, I know you've seen the memes. I know you've seen the conspiracy TikToks. But the actual reality of how this company works is way more interesting than any of that. And also, honestly, way more unsettling. There's a thing about a piece of software that I need to get to later in this video that genuinely, okay, I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's start simple. What even is BlackRock? So every couple months, the internet collectively rediscovers that BlackRock exists, and everyone freaks out. Did you know BlackRock owns everything?
Yeah.
Gary, we know they've been doing that. It is, and I cannot stress this enough, literally their job. But the thing everyone gets wrong, and I mean everyone, your uncle on Facebook, that guy on Twitter with a flag in his bio, all of them, is that BlackRock is not a bank, they're an asset manager. And I know that sounds like the most boring distinction in the world, but it's actually the entire reason they're terrifying. So bear with me for like 30 seconds. A bank takes your money, goes thanks nerd, and loans it to some guy opening his 4th frozen yogurt shop. Yogurt boy defaults. Bank's problem, they took the risk, they eat the loss. That's how banking works. It's been like that since, I don't know, the Medici family or whatever. Shout out to Florence, I guess. BlackRock looked at that whole arrangement and said, what if, and hear me out, what if we simply didn't do any of that? Instead of using their own money, they invest your money, take a little cut off the top. And if something goes wrong, well, that's your problem. They're the casino. The casino doesn't gamble, baby. The casino just takes a percentage and buys a nicer carpet. And the amount of money we're talking about here is... Okay, so BlackRock manages about $14 trillion, which, like, that number is so big, it stops meaning anything, right? So let me put it this way. That's more than the GDP of every country on Earth, except the US and China. If BlackRock were a nation, it'd have the 3rd biggest economy on the planet without an army. For now. I'm joking, mostly. So here's where it gets kind of funny. They manage $14 trillion, and they made $24 billion in revenue. And your first reaction is, that seems low? And yeah, it is. That's like a 0.17% take rate or something. I didn't actually do that math live. Don't quote me on the exact number. But the point is, it's almost nothing. Their main thing is management fees. You give them money to invest. They charge you a percentage. On their cheapest ETFs, it's like 0.03%. 3 cents per $100. 3 cents. That's not a business model. That's what you find between your couch cushions. But then you multiply 3 cents by 14 trillion, and suddenly you need to sit down. Because that's how you get to $24 billion in revenue and $5.5 billion in profit with a 33% margin. And yeah, the math just works when you're operating at planet scale. Their big thing is iShares, which is their ETF brand. ETFs are basically, okay, you probably know what ETFs are. If you don't, it's like a basket of stocks you can buy as one thing. Anyway, iShares is enormous. BlackRock, Vanguard, and State Street, the big 3, which is a very unimaginative name. Like, these are the 3 most powerful financial entities on Earth, and the best we could come up with was the big 3. That's the name of a basketball podcast. Anyway, those 3 control about 74% of the US equity ETF market. Just 3 companies. Cool. Normal. Not weird at all. And here's the thing that really gets me. BlackRock doesn't even have to do anything for their revenue to grow. Market goes up 10%. Cool. Their 14 trillion is now 15.4 trillion, and their fee income went up by the same amount. They didn't hire anyone. They didn't launch a product. Some trader in Tokyo bought a stock and BlackRock's revenue went up. It's the most passive income scheme in the history of passive income, and it's completely legal. Beautiful. Kinda. Dystopian. Also kinda. Oh, and they also do the fancy rich people stuff. Private equity, infrastructure deals, private credit, the things that guys invest talk about at rooftop bars in Manhattan. Those have way higher fees, way fatter margins. I don't really want to get into it because honestly, private equity makes my head hurt. And this video is already going to be long enough. But here's what I do want to talk about. Because everything I just said, the fees, the ETFs, the scale, that's not even the most insane part of BlackRock. The most insane part is a piece of software, and I've been putting off telling you about it. Because honestly, it kind of freaks me out. Okay, so BlackRock built this platform called Aladdin. It stands for, and I'm not making this up, Asset, Liability, Debt, and Derivative Investment Network, which, no, that acronym was worked backwards from the name. Some guy in a conference room said, what if we called it Aladdin? And then 6 people spent a week figuring out what it could stand for. You cannot convince me otherwise. I will die on this hill. Anyway, What Aladdin actually does is it manages risk, tracks portfolios, handles trades, does compliance stuff. It's basically a financial operating system. And if it was just used by BlackRock, that'd be one thing. It's not just used by BlackRock. Over 1,000 institutions use Aladdin. Banks, insurance companies, pension funds that, like, your grandma's retirement depends on. And here's where my voice is going to get a little unhinged. BlackRock's own competitors use it, JP Morgan uses it, UBS uses it, the Federal Reserve has used this thing, the Federal Reserve. That's like Coca-Cola running their supply chain on software built by Pepsi. Total assets running through Aladdin, $25 trillion. That is roughly 8% of the entire global financial system going through one company's software. One company. And everybody's just fine with this apparently. A 98% client retention rate, because once you build your whole operation on Aladdin, switching is, I mean, you're not switching, you're just not. That would be like trying to unbake a cake. The cake is baked, you live in the cake now. Oh, and I almost forgot, because they hold stocks through all those index funds, BlackRock ends up being a major shareholder in like everything. Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, every big company. And stocks come with votes at shareholder meetings, so BlackRock is quietly one of the most influential voices in corporate America, while most people still think they're a bank, which again, they are not. We covered this led to a whole circus a couple years ago when Larry Fink, their CEO, and yes, that is his real name. It sounds like the alias of a guy in witness protection went on this big ESG kick companies should care about climate. Conservative states started pulling pension funds out. Woke capitalism, meanwhile. Environmentalists were like, dude, you literally invest in every oil company that exists. Sit down. So BlackRock was simultaneously too green and not green enough, which is just, I mean, that's impressive, honestly. They've since walked it all back because it turns out that when your job is manage everyone's money, having opinions is really bad for business. So yeah, that's BlackRock. $14 trillion managed by the world's most profitable middleman, running on software that a tenth of the global economy depends on, with voting power in every major corporation on the planet. And the question I keep coming back to, the one I haven't seen anyone really talk about, what happens when Aladdin goes down? Not if, when. Every system fails eventually. And when 8% of the world's money is running through one single point of failure, built by one private company in Manhattan. Anyway, sleep tight, everybody.